Welcome, everybody, to Sports Fluent. I'm anthonyk.
Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Fluent podcast. I'm your host, anthonyk, and I'm joined this week by a very special guest, Curtis Gladney. He is one of the founders of PlayBook Athlete, which is a media marketing company, or at least that's how it started. But before we get into PlayBook, I want a little bit about you. You're a military man, started in the Air Force. How do you go from that to the nuclear industry and now into PlayBook Athlete?
Very good. So, like you said, I was Air Force. I seen an opportunity to answer the call. A lot of people answer and serve the country back in 2004. Before that, I was on the legal path. I was at NC State, and I recognized law school was going to be very expensive. So I reached out to a recruiter. He said, "Hey, come over here. We can pay for you." So I went in, did the Air Force thing. Communications by trade in the Air Force, 4 years, loved every second of it. A little Air Force plug right there, good opportunity if anybody out there looking for a change. But yeah, I did communications in there, and I always had a passion for sports. I was I guess you could say the smaller guy. All my friends, they were all big. Everybody played sports, basketball, football, and I was just the guy kind of hanging around. So I always had the passion for it. Left the Air Force in 2008. And then at that time, like I said, I was technical in the Air Force, so I ended up in the nuclear industry. Still had the passion going about, getting out and helping athletes get their passion. So that's how I kind of started PlayBook Athlete, trying to, empower and brand athletes around 2011. So it was a good opportunity, very appetizing to a lot of athletes because, as with my friends, they thought that, hey, if I just dribble a basketball, I throw a football, and I do good, Nick Saban's going to come find me. Well, that's not the case. So we recognize that you got to brand yourself. You got to get out there. Nick Saban's got to know about you for him to even have an opportunity to come look at you.
Right.
Which is a lost concept with a lot of guys. They think that he'll find you. No, he finds the top 100 players. That's because rivals and everybody writes about those guys. What about the other 7,980,000?
Right.
Well, that's what we try to brand those guys, give them opportunity, give them exposure. We hook up with a lot of the top trainers around the country. Brad Arnett out in Waukesha, Wisconsin, Dwight Johnson in Atlanta, Georgia, Boo Mitchell, all those guys. So they come to our network and we give the athletes a platform. I can't shoot the ball for them. I can't run the touchdown for them, but I can put them in circles where they can get exposure from it. And that's what we do.
So what are some of the concepts that so I come to you and I say, hey, I'm a basketball player. I don't think I'm getting enough exposure because, listen, I'm not top tier, but I still think I could get a scholarship, let's say. What are some of the things you say, okay, well, here's what we need to put together first? How does that planning process start?
So the world is digital now. And just back up a few years, I say a few years, but the world used to be you got to pop a video in and it was VHS, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those days are gone. And that's where the coaches are. The coaches are on those platforms like Twitter and the social media. So first we would make sure those guys are established on social media to give those guys their own platform. And then, like I said, so we would take those guys and introduce them to the other worlds of the platform and give those guys a name for themselves. Because traditionally kids are saying hey, the piece, well, let me back up a little. The piece that the athletes were missing was that connection with the college coaches. And really it's through the trainers because, the trainers are the ones that get those guys prepared to get to that next level. So we make that connection with the trainers.
When you started PlayBook, it was 2011. A lot has changed, right? Digitally, social media since 2011. I don't think people realize how fast this has kind of become a thing. How do you keep your athletes from, because social can be scary, right? How do you keep them from doing something that'll hurt their stock, by saying something? Do you guys control that, or do you just kind of manage them and coach them on, hey, here are the things that you should probably stay away from? Or do you say, hey, be yourself and let them know the true you?
So there's a problem with the true you because the true you is when you get in trouble on social media.
Yeah.
So the first thing we do, and we preach it in all of our videos and we sit down with the athletes and with the coaches, that, hey, when you send a tweet, when you send a post, or when you like a video, that says something about you.
Yeah.
And even remove the sports world, if you're applying to everyday America, they're looking at what you got on social media now. You send a resume, but then they put your name in Google and they see everything that you got on there. So a lot of what we do is the education piece of it, because the coaches are saying they want to know the athlete off the field, and what you post on social media is really who you are off the field. So
Right.
it matters. So
Yeah.
We want the athlete to be themselves. I mean, and they should, but to a degree, you got to understand there's a professional aspect of it too that is very important to the athlete getting to that next level.
Yeah, those things you post are there forever, and not all of them age well, right? So you got to be a little bit careful. All right,
Absolutely.
so that's fantastic, and I know that's how it started, right? And that's giving a platform for those student athletes and getting them seen by maybe where they wouldn't have been seen before. But now you've kind of transitioned PlayBook, and now it's not just about athletes. We're talking to everybody, and you've started something that I messaged you and I told you I love what you're doing, the Why I Grind movement. So tell everybody a little bit more about that, how the transition happened, why it happened, and kind of what are we doing moving forward?
So I can almost in my head see the date that I seen the PlayBook transition. And we used to take about 50 athletes to Waukesha, Wisconsin to train with Brad Arnett. And he's a top trainer in Wisconsin, trains with J.J. Watt and all those guys. But Brad would always say, hey, listen, I see what you can do on the field, but we want to know who you are off the field. And he would always say, why? And then, go around the country, somebody said, why do you do what you do? Why is it that you get up at 5 a.m. and do 2-a-days and all this good stuff? Why? Why is it that you do it? And so, boom, the Why I Grind movement was born. And you're right. It started out when we were with athletes, but we quickly realized that, as we were asking the athletes, the parents were answering the question. The parents were saying that, hey, I'm doing this because I want my son to have a better opportunity. I'm doing this for my family. Well, then you turn the camera to the parents and say, well, why do you? And that's why it kind of just caught like wildfire. And we realized that when you can answer that question, I don't care if you're Tom Brady. I don't care if you're pushing a broom at some company, Fortune 500 company. Everybody has a why. And when you can understand that why, well, then you'll know that it's within you to carry on. And it's really empowering to know that everything that you need to be better, to be great, to even carry on is within you. You just have to tap into it and really understand the why behind what it is that you do. So it's really inspiring. It's generational, and it's taking over. It's catching like wildfire. And I have a shirt on that says purpose, and I want my purpose to matter. And so it's all about that. And like we have the campaign, and it's so funny. If you were talking to one of our athletes now, he was like, hey, Curtis, before my why was to score touchdowns. That's not a why. That's almost a because.
Yeah.
You're doing it for a bigger reason. So it's really asking the athletes and everybody to dig deep and find out what that why is. And when you have that, well, then you really got something.
Yeah, because the easy one is, well, why? I'm doing it for a paycheck. But why do you need that paycheck, right? I need to take care of my family. I need to do this. I need to do that. And that's what I loved about what you were doing. It's because the person, that, like you said, that Tom Brady, that's Cam Newton, and we'll get to Cam Newton in a minute, that Cam Newton, that superstar athlete, right, works as hard, obviously, but also, that single mom working 2 jobs works just as hard as those guys, if not harder sometimes. Why is she doing it?
Absolutely.
Why am I doing it? Why are you doing it? I think that's what really inspired me to have this conversation with you, because I love the movement and Why I Grind. We're going to get into football here in a second, because I know you're a Carolina Panthers fan. But first, I think it's important. Where can people find you, PlayBook Athlete, and the Why I Grind movement?
So we're at PlayBook Athlete on all platforms: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. The hashtag on all platforms also is hashtag Why I Grind. The store where you can find the shirts, we're at playbook.store. So playbook.store, you can find the apparel. And listen, don't just buy the apparel. That's not what we want. Listen, we want to sell shirts. We love it, but we want to hear the why. So buy the shirt, find us on the platform once you get it, and tweet it, and send us on Instagram. Send us your why. That's what we want, because we want to empower others through your empowerment. So at PlayBook Athlete on everything, hashtag Why I Grind.
Well, I'm gonna send you mine, because mine's family. Why I Grind, because I got 6-year-old twins and I need to take care of them, and I want them to have a great life. And I'm telling you, once my shirt comes in, I'll be wearing it on the show as well, because I think this is really important what you're doing. So now we're gonna switch gears a little bit, because we're both in a situation where we're football fans and our teams aren't. Well, my team's actually doing well this year, but typically not that great. So I want to know how you go, because right now you're living in North Carolina, you're in North Carolina, and you're a Carolina Panthers fan. So I need to ask, how do you go from a Cowboy fan to a Panthers fan? And then we'll talk a little bit about the Panthers and that huge mistake at quarterback.
Oh, it's funny. So I was Troy Aikman, Jay Novacek, and all those guys, Emmitt Smith, and this is before Carolina had a football team. So when I had my room painted Cowboys blue. I had all that good stuff. And then in 1995 they dropped the team in Charlotte, and I'm a home team. I rep the home team. I'm North Carolina born and bred. So once they dropped that home team, I had to go with them. And so I've been riding with those guys. And mind you, at that same time, Dallas made some decisions, got rid of Jimmy Johnson. I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the commercial where Jimmy arrived in Miami and he took the Cowboys helmet and threw it. And I was like, okay, I can go since we got rid of Jimmy. They would have won a lot more Super Bowls had they kept Jimmy Johnson. But
you know what? I'll probably get shut down if I say anything bad about Jerry Jones because he controls everything. But yes, I'm with you on that move.
That's right. So now here I am in Carolina. We've had some great, been Super Bowl twice. Didn't go in our way either way of those times, but I'm loving it. This year is, I know you got some questions about this year, but it is what it is now. So we got to make the most of it with what we got going on in Carolina.
Yeah, look, from the outside, I remember, when the offseason and they signed Teddy Bridgewater, and I said, hey, he's a good quarterback, right? I don't think he's a great quarterback. I think that injury I think he was on the verge of greatness before that horrific injury in Minnesota, I think. And the question always was, what is Cam going to be if healthy, right? And can he stay healthy? And, the Patriots picked him up for next to nothing. And granted, we're 2 games in, but he looks great.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, so if he doesn't get hurt and goes through the season, Carolina, I'm sure Panther fans are going to be kicking themselves a little bit, but there's no way you could have known he'd come back like that. He could have just as easily gotten hurt in the first game and not played again. So it's a tough one, right? I've got issues at quarterback. I'm a Bears fan, so hey, we're 2-0, but I'm still feeling a little uneasy. I also understand what you're talking about because I'm a football fan and a huge basketball fan. And my team growing up as a kid was the Lakers because I'm in Toronto and we didn't have a team then, obviously, either. And everyone I knew was either a Celtics fan or a Laker fan. And I kind of like, I don't really like, this is how I pick my team. I don't really like green. So I became a Lakers fan. And I was a Lakers fan for a long time. And I still am, I think, kind of somewhere deep down inside. But Toronto got a team, I think right around 95 as well. I think it was around the same time as the Panthers. And I've just been a Raptors fan. So obviously got rewarded last year. Not so great this year, but I understand what you're saying. It's that home team. I think it's okay to jump off that bandwagon and move to your home team when it's a new team coming in. So right. I'm with you there. It was great talking with you. Remember to check out PlayBook Athlete and PlayBookAthlete.store. Curtis, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.